All right, guys, so I'm sure you've already seen the news, but if not, MTG, which is Modern Times Group, acquires Plarium. So there's a few different payouts. I'll go over that in just a moment. But in case you don't know the breakdown, Aristocrat Leisure is a gambling company, owns a lot of different games and the sorts of publishers, essentially. They owned Plarium, which produces Raid, Mech Arena, Vikings War of Clans, and several other games. Well, Plarium has been now sold to MTG. Modern Times Group. So MTG purchased Plarium for $620 million outright. Now, $20 million is going to be deferred to 2026, but we just want to see the overall potential earnings for the sale of Raid. So $620 million off the bat. We have another performance-based earnout of $30 million, so add $30 million onto there, and then a second potential stretch earnout of $170 million. Now, in order for Plarium to get all this money, they're going, I guess, Aristocrat Leisure, actually, since that's who's getting paid. They will have to hit these earnings in Raid specifically because, let's be honest, Raid of all Plarium's games is by far the highest earner. And I'll show you all the different games that Modern Times Group holds inside of their company, I guess we're going to call it here, but all the different publishers that they own. And we can compare what games they already have versus Raid and how big of a player Raid will be for them as well. Now, a big difference between Modern Times Group and Aristocrat is Modern Times Group has a lot of mobile games already. They're not that similar to Raid, but they're more similar to Raid than what Aristocrat Leisure was holding. Aristocrat held a lot of casino, a lot of slot mobile games. So while it is pretty similar to Raid still, it's not as similar as what we're about to see with MTG. Now, something I want to talk about is how much Raid's going to change. Is it going to change at all? And honestly, before we get into reading this Reddit post, I'm going to say I don't see Raid changing that much, really, because if you're a company spending millions, almost $1 billion to purchase a game, what is the likelihood that you're going to go in there and think, okay, we need to get into a growth mindset, change up a bunch of the stuff so that we can completely revamp the company? Well, pretty low. I would say that if Raid is making millions and hundreds of millions of dollars, you, as the holding company, is going to be very likely to just let Plarium continue doing what they're doing and encourage them to even maybe make more money, because all these companies want to make profit, of course. And when you're fresh on the purchase of a nearly $1 billion purchase, you're not going to want to take a chance in losing money. So at least until all this is paid out, I don't see, personally, significant changes coming to Raid. And I want to hear you guys' opinions as well, but the only thing that has potential hope for Raid changing significantly is the fact that Modern Times Group does have a lot of games with pretty good monetization routes. But like I said, I really doubt they're going to go in and revamp Raid's monetization too much because you have a formula that's working. Now, the player sentiment may not be the happiest, but the dollars through the door is looking good for Aristocrats running of Plarium, or Plarium's running, whoever's running it. So moving into MTG, I really doubt too much is going to be changed. Why would they revamp it? And as far as I'm aware, Plarium's still the main driving force of the decisions. It's just reporting back to MTG versus Aristocrat Leisure and saying, hey, this is what we're earning, this is how we're doing. And then the holding company is essentially going to direct the path from there. Like, hey, you guys got to make more money. You got to push some more of those shard packs. You got to open up the merch store, which is what we have. So that's kind of cool to see. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But this Reddit post says Raid developers sold to Swedish gaming company MTG. Let's hear some of the comments. And I also want to hear some of your guys' comments. What do you think? Do you think we're going to be in for some pretty big changes? This person says, awesome. I no longer have to read that Plarium is owned by a literal gambling company. Okay, fair enough. This person says, hopefully MTG reorients and takes a more player-focused approach than Aristocrat Leisure. I hope so. I already expressed my opinions, though. You don't buy something like RSL for over $500 million and not milk it for all it's worth? Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't necessarily see them making too big of changes, honestly. Why would you? Why? That seems like a terrible business idea, to buy something that's already working and then revamp it. Yeah, I'm going to be the savior and fix all this. No, I don't think so. I would expect for the next, I guess, until 2026, which is when these stretch perform out. Actually, no. The second potential stretch earnout target for 170 based on Plarium's 2028 revenues. So we got like 3 or 4 years before I'd even expect any significant changes to be happening, honestly. So we'll see, though. Do we think that could change the approach of the game to be more player-friendly or even worse? or dies. Plarium will still decide everything as before. I wonder why they sold. Hope it's not a sinking ship situation. I really doubt that because MTG is going to, I mean, they know what they're buying. They have a lot of other games. So I'll go through their games in just a moment. I don't think it's a sinking ship type of game, a sinking ship type situation. These companies aren't going to buy something for $1 billion. I would hope that's falling. And Raid's doing pretty good still. Like, even though the player sentiment is very poor, Raid itself is still performing very well. The question is it more likely to be good news or bad news for the future of the game? I honestly don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. Even when Plarium was sold to Aristocrat, it wasn't a huge change. Now, in the last year or so, maybe there's, which they actually had mentioned before, they were switching to profit mode, which we already knew about, and we have noticed that to a point. But a lot of the game mechanics, I don't think that's going to be ran through MTG at all. Like, I don't think MTG has any care if Hydra heads respawn with Serpent's Will, or the digestion bar is too big, or if ally attacks and multi-hits matter on the boss. There's no reason MTG cares about that. They just care about the money coming through the door, and as long as players are still playing and we're getting more players, that's really all they care about, I believe. First order of business, nerf all good things. I knew it wasn't Magic the Gathering, but I'm still to find out it's not. Still surprised to find out it's not. Sounds like a low, I don't know what that is. Multiple, wonder why Aristocrat would sell for so low. $100 million cash from $600 million revenue is no joke. But low EBITDA multiples can sometimes mean there isn't much future growth forecast. So more like buying a stable asset than expecting Raid 2 to launch. That makes sense. I don't even know what this word is or this acronym, but that makes sense. I don't see Raid growing much. I'm honestly surprised Raid's able to continue getting so many new players because it was a massive meme across YouTube, Twitch. I feel like majority of people have heard about Raid. And with advertising, there's a point where it's oversaturated and people just kind of stop hearing about it. But there's obviously still players who are hearing about Raid and downloading it, even with it being 4 to 5 years out. So that's pretty awesome, but I find it hard to believe that they're going to be able to squeeze out more new players and get significant growth. Of course, a Raid 2.0 or a different game, which I've heard talks of different games coming from Plarium a while back. I forget what it was, but they were talking about a game. Maybe you guys can remember, but Plarium has the potential to, use the IP of Raid and go into a different game. I mean, there's so many champions there. Players, just like AFK Journey AFK Arena moved into AFK Journey, which is essentially AFK Arena 2, but quite a bit different. Raid could move into an idle RPG game. There is so much potential for just like the Raid IP itself to have significant incomes if they were to develop a new game. So let's move over into Modern Times Group and what companies they actually have. So this is their portfolio: InnoGames, Hutch, Ninja Kiwi, which this is the only one I actually recognized, Play Simple, and Snowprint. So InnoGames, their last month revenue on Apple specifically, typically Android earns more than Apple, but I just have all of them showing in Apple. Their last month revenue was $3 million, with Forge of Empires, Build a City being their highest earner. This is a city builder game. City builder games print money for whatever reason. I used to love them, but they're very pay to win. But city builders are cool. And InnoGames, I don't know how they are as a company. I'm kind of interested in seeing what the reviews of this game are. So we have a 4.6 out of 162,000 reviews, but this is like Vikings War of Clans. This is like an exact copy of that. All the typical city builders, too complex, okay, decent, relatively older game. I don't know how old exactly, but there we go. That's InnoGames. That's one of the games being held by Modern Times Group already. And then we have Hutch Games, which this was pretty different than what I expected. It's only making $1 million. I say only as if I've made $1 million, but $1 million last month is definitely a serious chunk of change from Apple specifically. However, compared to these other games, it's not as much. So we have a bunch of racing games here. We have Hill Dash, a bunch of games that are inactive currently. The biggest earner is F1 Car Clash, as well as Top Drives, which I've not played either one of these games, but I'm not into car games. That doesn't matter. But this is definitely different than Raid, and I don't think there's any similarities between Raid and this whatsoever, which is leading me to my point of I don't see MTG coming in and trying to change the game a lot when it's not like their portfolio is solely focused on turn-based RPG games and that they know a ton about that. They know the monetization. They know how to make it make money. I don't think they know how to optimize the game necessarily. Those two don't necessarily correlate. So we have this one, Top Drives. Let's see what it's like. So we have just a racing game, 4.7. So it has good reviews. That's at least good to see. Sonic is Beast. Major update, ruined my game. Just real quick look. Car versus car. It kind of looks pretty, very, very different than Raid, I'll say the least. So F1 Car Clash, Car Racing Manager. They had some pretty good downloads last month, though. Did I just close? Oh, no, I didn't. 4.6, 72,000 rating. Looks a little bit more updated, but still, you get the idea of what, I guess, Hutch Games produces. And then we have Ninja Kiwi. This is the one that I recognize. Ninja Kiwi just released Bloons Card Storm. It is a very low earner right now, but I can almost guarantee this will be significantly bumped up next month whenever it's got actually a full month on the App Store. I played it a little bit. It was okay. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I'm much more enjoying other card games, but I do like card games. Bloons Tower Defense 6. This is a pretty old game, and it's actually still making some really good money. And I'm pretty sure Bloons Tower Defense is like I'm almost certain it's a purchase, and then it's free to play. Yeah, so it's a $7 game, and then it has some in-app purchases as well. So for it to have 30,000 downloads last month is pretty good, but honestly, $700,000 is what it made revenue last month, not profit. Though I'd say a lot of it is profit, just because they don't have too much overhead, I would imagine. I don't know how much Bloons is even advertising. I don't think they even are. I never see a Bloons advertisement. But it's a $7 game that made $700,000. I would assume, actually, let's see. So, 30,000 people times 7 is 210,000. So they made an extra 500,000 basically just from in-app purchases, which is pretty sweet. They have Bloons Card Storm, which I can guarantee will be much higher on this list, considering their highest earner was Bloons Tower Defense 6, which to get 30,000 downloads on a $7 game is pretty impressive. A free game, Bloons Tower Defense Battles, 60,000 downloads is good, but its revenue is much, much lower. So they're doing really good with Bloons Tower Defense 6. And Bloons is, as far as I'm aware, known to have pretty good monetization. It has great reviews overall. If I remember correctly, I used to play this a long time ago in school, but it was like Bloons Tower Defense 2. Yeah, 4.9 of 304,000 ratings. This is a classic game, being Bloons Tower Defense. It's a lot of fun. Well, it was back then. I don't know how much I would like it now, but it was a good game. Card Storm is a offshoot of it, but it was an okay game. I just couldn't get into it too much personally, but I do imagine it's going to do pretty well. 4.1, 391 ratings. They don't advertise that much, unlike Raid, who is heavy into advertising, so I guess we'll see how it actually plays out. But that's Ninja Kiwi. Ninja Kiwi's been around for a long time. Overall, a good publisher as far as I'm aware, but still, only making about $1 million, which, once again, still a lot of money. But when you see Raid, not nearly as much. Now we have Play Simple Games. Play Simple Games seems to like something more that was in like Aristocrat Leisure's portfolio a long time ago. But we have like Word Search. Revenue last month, the highest earner was Crossword Jam. I don't think this takes too much explanation to see what this is. Like words with friends, but like less. So we have crossword puzzles, just simple games. It says it in the name. 500,000 downloads for Word Search. I'm not going to go into that, but $1 million revenue. And then we have Snow Corporation. What is this? This is not the right thing. It was Snow Print, which I needed to look for. Let me go pull that up real quick. Sensor Tower Snow Print Apple. So this may not be the Apple numbers. This is. So Snowprint makes games that are actually more closely related to Raid. We have Warhammer Tacticus, which is a card game. They made $3 million though. Warhammer is actually popping off. 100,000 downloads, $3 million revenue. That's actually a really good revenue per download. What is that? So if you're doing 3 million divided by 100,000, obviously it's like $30 a person. Dang. That's actually really, obviously every one of these people didn't spend money. That's like the overall player base. But they're making some pretty solid return, especially on their advertising, I'd imagine. Like, hey, you can spend quite a bit on advertising if you're getting this kind of return, I imagine. But then Legends of Soulguard and Rivengard, they not making nearly as much. When you have 3 million versus 40,000, that's like, what are we even looking at here, right? Though I would gladly take that. With this one, Legend of Soulguard, is a RPG. I've not seen this one. I've seen the other game, but I've not seen this one before. I'm not really sure what it is, honestly. A battler type game. Honestly, I have no clue. This unique RPG looks unique to me because I don't know what it even is. But good ratings, 4.6, a little bit on the low side. But then we have Riven Guard, which I'm pretty sure is their closest related game to Raid. So you can kind of see here what's going on. We have the tile-based combat, grow your heroes. Once again, maybe it's close to Raid, but it's not that close to Raid. If this is their closest, it's still pretty far from Raid. You have a gearing system, you have your abilities, you have a tile-based combat. I'd say it's almost closer related to Watcher of Realms, but even then, it's probably a stretch related to that. 1.5 thousand reviews. Obviously, that company's not pushing their stuff very much. And then Warhammer, you've probably seen this in the App Store. This one I've actually seen advertised. This is I thought it was a card game, but I guess it's actually more similar to Riven Guard, but it looks actually pretty fun. The tile-based combat, once again, another game that not really similar to Raid. So far, inside their group of games, we have a bunch of different companies. So we have Ninja Kiwi, Balloon Towers Defense, Play Simple, crossword stuff, Inno Games, I forget what they did, and then Hutch with the car racing, Play Sim or Snowprint, the closest related to Raid, and then you have Raid and Plarium. Revenue last month, $7 million. Now Raid downloads last month, 100,000, a little bit lower than I remember seeing it in the past, but they also have a lot of the downloads coming through Plarium Play on the PC. So Raid is by far going to be MTG's largest earner. I don't think it's even a competition, honestly, because Raid alone has a PC client. Balloons Tower Defense, I don't think has any PC clients, as far as I'm aware, if I remember correctly. Most of those games don't have PC clients. They have no reason to. They do have Android side, which is going to make quite a bit of money and possibly more money than the Apple side. Actually, I can guarantee that. But overall, Raid is putting up some huge numbers. Plarium also has a lot more games. So Plarium is going to be their biggest company. And since Raid is going to be their biggest game, and knowing they just purchased it for almost $1 billion, I don't see any massive changes coming to Raid. And while they want the players to be happy and continue playing, they're not going to prioritize players being happy over making money, right? What is Nova Legends? Last update 11 months ago? They have a lot of inactive games in Plarium. Like Plarium has a lot of games they've tried out. I think I may have tried Nova Legends before. I don't know, but they have a lot of games they have tested but haven't actually released. But there we go. That's the breakdown of what MTG actually has. Pretty long, I guess, video, so sorry about that, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. It was interesting to me to see what could come from this, but the fact that all these games are so different, as a company that has all this stuff, they're not going to be, I wouldn't imagine, they're not going to be super involved with the day-to-day balancing. Honestly, I'd be surprised if they're involved really at all. It's going to be majority of, I would say, Plarium, who's ran the game for 6 years almost, his job to make all these decisions. Now, the next thing we look at is Raid's merch store. This is pretty sick, not gonna lie. Like, this is pretty cool. Much better to invest in this than invest in shard packs. $27, get yourself a cool shirt. What shirt do you think is the coolest? I kind of like the Gallic outline shirts. This looks like a little too much flashy art to me, I think. It would depend on how the print is. If the print is like that thick artwork, which it probably is if it's the colors, then I'm not sure if I would wear that. However, $27 for a t-shirt is a little expensive, not gonna lie. It's more expensive than I like to spend on my t-shirts, which I got an answer for you guys in just a moment. For a hoodie, I'll probably find one of these and get one pretty soon. I mean, it is cool. I do like the way they look. I don't care about the print on the hoodie as much, and that looks pretty sick. I mean, just imagine how cool you'll be in public wearing a Raid Shadow Legends shirt. Everybody's gonna be jealous that you're wearing a Raid Shadow Legends merch, right? People are gonna be like, yo, he plays Raid? That is cool. Maybe not. Maybe that's not what's thought, but some of these do look pretty slick. This Jedi looking one, I thought it was like Star Wars at first. Arbiter has a lightsaber. Pretty interesting design. Like, first look, you get rid of Raid. That is a Jedi for sure. Anyway, pretty neat. Now, if you want to buy shirts and clothing, but you don't feel like spending this much money, now a purse, I don't really know why I want a purse. I guess it'd be kind of cool. Mugs. Okay, these are pretty cool too. If I drink coffee, I would probably get one. But $14, okay, that's more reasonable price for me. But if you're looking to get some shirts at a good discount, check out Into the AM. I literally wear their stuff every single day, not just because I have an affiliate code with them, which if you do make a purchase, I do get some of the purchase, so it does help support my channel. But honestly, Into the AM is such awesome clothes, and right now they're doing up to 60% off everything. So get you a shirt from Raid. They do look cool. If you play the game, they're pretty nice. But if you look at the shirts on Into the AM, if you want to get actually multiples, we have the custom 3-pack of tees. I say we, as in they, and not me. You can use code TYRAIDS. I'll leave it down below for 10% off. So we have 3 tees for $48.65. So what is this? 48.65 divided by 3. That's $16 per shirt. And then times, actually be at 10% off that. So 10% off 48. I don't feel like doing the math. But $16 per shirt, it's getting it closer to where I like it. But if you come into the Black Friday section, maybe, you can actually see some of these shirts for like $10. Now, it's not all the shirts, but me and my wife were scrolling through yesterday, and some of them are even more discounted. Maybe the prints they're trying to get rid of. Like this one, I don't know if I would wear it, but some of you guys might like it. $12, $13 basically for a t-shirt. That's a pretty good deal. And these shirts hold up very well. Like I have all the plain prints. I wear an extra large. My height and weight, I'm about 5'10", 5'11", and I weigh 220-ish. So for my height and weight, extra large fits very well. I wouldn't go for a large. It's a little bit smaller. Some of the shirts are a little bit longer than the others. The plain tees that I have, the basic plain tees, they seem to fit a little bit longer. Whereas the colored tees, some of these seem to be a little bit shorter, which I still like to fit on those. But honestly, I wear the plain tees more than anything else. And the hat is the trucker hat, not the snapback. I'm not a huge fan of, well, it is a snapback, but it's not a flat bill. I'm not a huge fan of flat bills. But I legitimately love all their stuff and their jackets as well. I have some of their jackets. So I'm probably not going to purchase a 9-pack because that's a little bit more pricey, even though it is cheaper per shirt, $13 per item. But if you're looking for some clothes, guys, check this out. They have a lot of cool designs, a lot of cool stuff. This is not the hat I have. I'm not a huge fan of that hat, honestly, but it's all personal preference. So just something to check out, guys. Check out Into the AM. Use my code TYRAIDS. Get yourself 10% off. And while you're at it, check out Raid Store. You can also use a code for them, I think, to get 10% off as well. I'm not for sure what the code is. Let's see the announcements over here. So Raid announcements. Let's see. Use promo code RAID10 for 10% off. 10% opening discount. Pretty generous. But still, a $27 shirt. 27 times 0.1. So $2.7 off. I could have done that math in my head. So we're looking at close to $25. Not the price that I typically like getting my clothes at, but maybe I'm just cheap. I'll spend more on shards, but I'll probably have to get one. So which shirt would you guys get? Which shirt do you think is the coolest? I think this is the face of a champion. No, I don't want that one. No one is worthless. I don't want that one either. I think I'd probably go with Gallic. While he's not good as a champion, he's sick as the artwork. The outline looks pretty cool. I just don't like gray that much. Gray is, it's okay. It's just, I don't like it personally. Because if you sweat, it just bleeds through it so bad. Black is what I prefer. This Death Knight one looks cooler too. But either way, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video, the breakdown of MTG and all the stuff that they hold. Maybe gives you a perspective. I'm going to be honest. Don't expect too much of a change, honestly. What do you think they would change? Poor company. They should have read Reddit to see what POS they bought. Well, so those awful changes was the last FU from the developers, huh? I don't think so. I think the developers and the holdings are very different. Now, out of curiosity, let's see. Aristocrat Leisure. You can see what games they held. Aristocrat Gaming, they have just pure slot machine games. It is premium gaming content and technology provider. It's just, whoa, chill it out. Oh my gosh. No, turn your volume off. What the heck? Why do I want that to happen? Sorry guys for blowing out your eardrums, but surprise, they gamble. But we'll see, guys, I guess soon enough. We will see you soon enough. So thank you all for watching. Appreciate you hanging out. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what shirts you're going to get, and check out Into the AM if you want a little bit more affordable t-shirts, more in bulk. But thank you all, and I'll catch you in the next one.